So I'm going to run through everything that you need to know in terms of dieting to build muscle if you are a beginner. So I'm going to stick to the fundamentals here. We're not going to dive into too much technical stuff. I'm going to make this as easy as possible to understand. And there really isn't much to it, guys. The two things we're going to talk about today in terms of the fundamentals are going to be your protein intake and your calorie intake, how to choose the right ones for you, what these things actually mean and why we need to be doing those, and how to manipulate them based on what phase you're going into and why these phases are so important. So number one, we're going to talk about your protein intake. So I can promise you, if you are not consuming a sufficient amount of protein on a day-to-day basis, you will not be able to build muscle. You might be able to build the tiniest amount. You will hit a wall very, very quickly, and it's very likely that you're not going to be able to build up the physique that you actually want to build. Depend on the physique you want to build, of course, but if you are looking to build muscle mass and we want to have a muscular physique, we need to be consuming a sufficient amount of protein on a day-to-day basis, as this is going to be keeping your body in an environment where it's actually able to build or sustain muscle mass. So firstly, how much protein should you be eating? So it's recommended that we consume a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass per day. So firstly, figure out how much you actually weigh in pounds. So for example, I weigh 220 pounds. I'm fairly lean, so I'd say that's my lean body mass. So I should be eating 220 grams of protein per day. So find out how much you weigh in pounds, and then that is how many grams of protein you should be consuming a day. Now, 220 grams of protein seems like a hell of a lot. To a lot of you might not understand that protein is also in most food. It's not just protein powder. So in a typical protein shake, there's going to be around 25 grams of protein in. So as we've just established, I need to have 220 grams of protein a day. So that would be like 10 protein shakes. So that's pretty grim. You wouldn't want to do that all day. Now, this is why we typically eat foods like chicken breasts, tuna, whitefish, eggs, any meat, fish, or eggs typically have a high protein content. So these are the foods that we typically use to get protein in. So basically, just make sure you have at least 4, 5, or 6 meals per day which consume a good amount of protein. Track these on MyFitnessPal and make sure you're hitting that protein target every day. Whether you're training that day, whether it's a rest day, that protein target needs to be hit every single day. But that's your protein intake, super important. We need to make sure that we're consuming it. What does it actually do? It puts our body, like I said, in an environment where we can build muscle. The analogy I like to use is when you go to the gym, say we're trying to build muscle, pretend it's like a house, okay? The harder we train in the gym, the more builders get sent there to that muscle to build this house, okay? So the more time you spend there and the harder you train, you're always like, crap, I got to build this now, and it keeps sending builders there. Now, you can send as many builders there as you want, but if they don't have the material to build the house, they cannot build the house. Okay, the material in this analogy is the protein. If you're not consuming enough protein, you could send 10 builders there. You could send 1,000 builders there. But if they don't have the bricks to build the muscle, they're just going to be standing there with absolutely nothing to do. You will not be able to build the muscle. So that's number one, is your protein intake. Number two is your calorie intake. So in everything you eat, there are calories. Now, your calorie intake is going to control whether your body weight is going up or whether your body weight is going down. Now, this is super, super important when it comes to bodybuilding because, as we know, muscle has a mass. So if I was to, say, grab 5 kilos of muscle now and just slap it onto your body, obviously your body weight is going to go up by 5 kilos. So if you're not eating enough food to push your body weight up by 5 kilos, your body weight physically cannot go up 5 kilos. So it's physically impossible to add that 5 kilos of muscle mass on. Say you weigh 70 kilos, for example. If you constantly eat enough food to hold your body weight at 70 kilos, then how can you gain 5 kilos of muscle in this hypothetical example? You can't, because that would mean you have to get up to 75 kilos. So unless you eat enough food to push you up to 75 kilos, you will never be 75 kilos. So your calorie intake is very, very important. Again, just make sure you're tracking everything you eat. Use MyFitnessPal. It's a brilliant app. This will allow you to track your protein and your calories. And if you want to be gaining muscle, we need to be pushing that body weight up. So what we want to make sure you're doing is just eating a consistent amount of calories every day. Just set yourself an amount and eat that exact amount every day. And then just watch your scale weight. And if your scale weight's going up at the rate that you want it to be going up, then continue eating that same amount for now. And eventually it will stool. And then you push that food higher. And then it will stool. Your weight gain will stool. And then you push that food higher again. So that's the bulking phase. If we want to be pushing our body weight up, we need to be consuming more and more calories to the point where our body weight goes up and our body's in an environment again where it's able to put on some muscle mass. Now, while we're pushing that body weight up, as I mentioned before, It's the food that is pushing your body weight up. That has nothing to do with your training. Okay, so whether you're training or not, that body weight is still going up. Say, for example, you were not to train at all and you were to eat more calories than you're burning, so your body weight goes up. What do you think that body weight is going to be if we're not training at all? It's going to be all body fat, because our body's going to be in a position where we're pushing our body weight up. We're not giving our body any reason in this scenario to need any muscle mass because we're not training. So our body will just accumulate body fat. Now, it's our job when we go in the gym to train hard, to progress our lifts, to provide that novel stimulus, to give our body reason to need muscle mass, so that the largest chunk possible of the weight going on can be muscle mass. Because like I said, if we're not training, it's all body fat. If we're training, there's going to be a percentage of the weight going on that's muscle mass. The harder we train and the more reason we give our body reason to need muscle mass, the larger that percentage of muscle mass coming on will be. So this is why logging your lifts is super important and making sure that we progress through the gym. But that is weight gain, guys. So as you know, that a percentage of the weight that's going on is going to, from consuming more calories than you're burning, is going to be body fat, and a percentage is going to be muscle mass. Now, say we do this week in, week out, week in, week out, we're building muscle, building muscle, building muscle, we're also gaining body fat. So around the 16-week mark is typically where I like to call a cutoff point. This is where we're like, okay, I've gained quite a lot of body fat now, so let's shift our focus from pushing up to dropping body weight, and let's make sure that the weight we're dropping is body fat and not muscle mass. So again, we change our calorie intake. This time we put ourselves in a calorie deficit. So this time we eat less calories than we're burning. So our body now loses weight. And as it's dropping weight, we need to make sure that the weight it's dropping is body fat. Now, the same lifts you were doing in the gym that built the muscle are going to be the same lifts that will hold the muscle. So this is why, again, logging your lifts is super important, because if you've got those numbers in front of you, you know exactly what numbers you need to be hitting to hold onto that muscle mass. So we're going to hit our numbers in the gym, we're going to hold our muscle mass, we're consuming enough protein to sustain the muscle mass as well, but we're now eating less calories than we're burning, so our body is dropping weight. And because we're giving our body reason to need the muscle mass, it will drop the body fat off. And you'll do this and continuously drop weight until you're lean again. But now you're going to be lean with more muscle mass than you were last time you were lean. And you're going to go into that bulking phase again. You're going to start eating more calories than you were burning. And again, we just rinse and repeat this process. So we push our body weight up. Some of that body weight is going to be muscle mass, some of it's going to be body fat. We get to a point where we get too much body fat. We pull ourselves down in a calorie deficit and we remove the body fat. Those are the two things that you need to know, guys, when it comes to dieting in the gym. Is going to be your protein intake and manipulating your calorie intake. So your protein intake is going to be pretty consistent year round, no matter what phase you're in. So for me, it's always at least 220 grams because of my body weight. And then your calorie intake is going to change whether you're pushing your body weight up or if you're pulling your body weight down. It's important to push our body weight up because our body weight needs to go up to build muscle mass. It's important to pull our body weight down because we're going to gain some body fat while we're pushing up, so we've got to remove that body fat. But those are the basics of dieting, guys. I hope that was helpful to those watching. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And I've got plenty more content just like this coming your way. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. But cheers, guys. I'll see you in the next one.